Imagine a red line so dangerous that crossing it could permanently change the map of the world and the future of humanity itself. This line is not drawn on land or sea. It is just a number, 90%. And right now, the entire world is holding its breath, waiting at the edge of that 90% mark. The 90% mark represents a critical threshold, pushing global anxiety to unprecedented levels. For the past 70 days, the Middle East has been burning in a brutal and dangerous conflict. On one side stand the powerful military forces of the United States and Israel. On the other stands the Iranian regime. This is not an ordinary war. It is a deadly game of pressure, diplomacy, and strategic threats where the stakes are immense. The risks involve not just political power, but nuclear danger and the fate of millions of human lives. Tensions have risen to a level where even a small mistake could trigger massive destruction. Almost every path for negotiation has collapsed, and hope for peace is fading fast. In this terrifying atmosphere, Iran has issued a warning that has shaken intelligence agencies and governments around the world. Tehran has openly declared that if American or Israeli forces dare to attack again, Iran could enrich its uranium up to 90% purity. 90%, the level widely associated with weapons-grade uranium used for nuclear bombs. An Iranian parliamentary spokesman, Ibrahim Rezaiei, deepened global fears through a statement on social media. In a calm yet chilling tone, he said that if another attack takes place, 90% enrichment remains an option. He confirmed that Parliament would seriously consider 90% enrichment if further attacks occur. This is not an empty threat or political theater. It appears to be part of a carefully calculated strategy. This move is calculated, demonstrating intent rather than simple political posturing. U.S. President Donald Trump has already made it clear to the world that he will not allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon under any circumstances. Trump has described Iran's enriched uranium as, quote, nuclear dust, and warned that the United States is closely monitoring the situation. His message is blunt. America is ready to strike if anyone comes close to those sites. As we reach the brink of the 90% mark, the world watches with bated breath. Crossing this 90% line carries immediate, devastating global consequences, potentially altering the geopolitical map forever. The future of the region remains highly uncertain, tethered to the fragile balance of deterrence and the dangerous number, 90%. The world watches as a critical question looms. How close is Iran to the 90% uranium enrichment threshold? This is the most frightening question in geopolitics today. Just how close is Iran to achieving weapons-grade nuclear material? The reality is stark. Iran is already standing at the door and knocking on the 90% mark. Let's examine the scale of their progress by looking at Iran's accumulated uranium stockpile. This accumulation has happened over the past 8 years, since the United States withdrew from the nuclear agreement during President Trump's first term. Iran has accumulated nearly 11,000 kilograms of uranium stockpile, a truly massive amount by any international standard. What creates even greater fear is the purity level of some of this material. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran possesses about 440 kilograms of uranium already enriched to 60% purity. To an average person, 60 to 90% may sound like a long journey. But in nuclear technology, it's a relatively small technical step. Understanding the physics of enrichment reveals why this purity level is so dangerous. One harsh reality is that the higher the concentration or purity of the uranium becomes, the easier and faster it is to increase it even further. Reaching 20% requires enormous effort and time. Moving from 60% to 90% is significantly easier by comparison. The 90% threshold is internationally recognized as the benchmark for nuclear weapons material. 90% is widely considered the ideal level for producing weapons-grade nuclear material. Iran first began large-scale uranium enrichment back in 2006, all while consistently insisting that its intentions were peaceful. By 2010, the country had reached the 20% level, a point officially viewed as the dividing line between civilian and potential military capability. The data shows a clear and concerning trajectory for Iran's nuclear program. Today, Iran sits at 60% enrichment, making it dangerously close to that 90% threshold. This goal was even openly acknowledged in 2021 by former Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, who stated the country could enrich uranium up to 90% if their reactors required it. The most terrifying and mysterious part of this entire story is still yet to come: Iran's uranium stockpile. No one truly knows where all of this uranium is being stored right now. The International Atomic Energy Agency believes a large portion may be located inside the Isfahan nuclear complex. This is the same site that suffered devastating airstrikes in June 2025 and more recently became a target of attacks carried out by both the United States and Israel. Since those strikes, everything has disappeared into a deep fog of uncertainty. Everything has disappeared into a deep fog of uncertainty. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi has admitted that ever since the conflict began in June 2025, inspectors have not physically seen the uranium stockpile. While the agency's cameras and monitoring seals may still be installed, there is currently no reliable way to confirm whether the dangerous material is truly still there and secure. At this moment, the world's top nuclear watchdog is operating almost blind. Its experts are now relying mainly on satellite imagery and intelligence estimates to piece together the situation. The current reality is grim. The ceasefire is barely alive, almost as if it is on a ventilator. With every passing day, the doors to diplomacy appear to be closing even further. The United States has reportedly rejected a recent Iranian proposal to dilute part of its highly enriched uranium and transfer the remaining stockpile to a third country. Both sides now seem fully prepared for military escalation. All it could take is a single spark, one more airstrike. And Iran may decide to push its 60% enriched uranium directly to the 90% weapons-grade level. That 90% line is no longer just a warning written on paper. It has become a ticking time bomb. And now, the world waits in fear, wondering whether the next missile will destroy that bomb forever or ignite the beginning of an entirely new nuclear era.